Peace, power, and ascension, black family. Oh, shit. Peace, power, and ascension. Let me see here. While I'm sharing to these groups, I'm gonna let y'all know that the reason they took the disciples from the Notre Dame to save the discipline, but they allowed the gargoyles to burn because the gargoyles represents the gorgons. The gorgons are the astral protectors of the healers and spirit guides and spiritual workers, shamans, things of that nature. So that's why they allowed the gargoyles to burn, because once we begin to tap in and tune into our soulism and our spirituality, they became, and the more that the Catholics become the lesser dominant spiritual power or rulers of the spirit realms and spirit guiding, and look to for healing. That Gorgon energy comes to us. It leaves them and comes to the higher plane, because the spirit guides and protectors also seek to protect the best of us and the greatest of us and the most powerful of us and the ones with the highest potentialities. So that's why they allowed the gargoyles to burn, and they took the disciples, because the disciples represents the discipline, or the wheel of zodiac, the wheel of the houses that they have us confined in with the 12 zodiac system, and for our birthdays and shit like that. Peace, Bronson Harden. So that's what that whole Notre Dame shit. I just wanted to drop that on y'all real quick, because everybody's starting to show these pictures of the gorgons or the gargoyles, and the gargoyle is the male version of the gorgons. They call the females just regular gorgons because they the original, of course. So the males are called gargoyles. So Gorgon is actually what Medusa and her sisters was. So that's that whole little Notre Dame shit that's going on. Just to get that out the way. And as far as that Nipsey Hussle shit, I watched some shit with Nipsey Hussle today about him talking about he's the spook that sat by the door. I don't know if y'all read that book before, The Spook Who Sat by the Door. But that dealt with the black man that infiltrated that joined the government and the CIA and shit, and pretty much took the knowledge that he learned dealing with the government and brought it back to the hood and shit, and start educating the Black Panthers and revolutionary black movements and shit. So Nipsey Hussle, peace, Betty, I see you. So Nipsey Hussle said that he was the spook he believes that he's now the spook who sat by the door. I've seen this on Charlemagne. So that means pretty much that Nipsey Hussle was an agent. I just want to throw that in there too. Commercial. So let's get down to the real shit that I really want to get into and talk about. Because I have so many brothers that peace. What up, Cherie? A more wiser. The more wiser. The reason why I wanted to do this message to the black men in Atlantis, and I titled it Atlantis with motives. My motive is because I want to differentiate between what we call black people and what we call Africans. Yes, we are the same kind of people, but we are over here. Those that are labeled black legally are considered to be of a certain blood circle, and that blood circle are considered to be we are the Atlantean beings. And those that they call Africans, and who we have been calling Africans, are of the Lemurian blood circle. Peace, Joanna Moss. And so this is why I was titled this such. And if you want to know what am I talking about by Atlantis, I'm talking about Atlantis in the sense of what we call America with three K's, America Kaka. So that being said, this is a message to the black men in Atlantis, because I feel like, and it deals, and I said subtitled it Qualifications and Validations, because it deals with the concept of unity and stuff like that, and what we call unity and black love and black supremacy, black power, black magic, dark energy, dark magic, shadow walking, spirit guiding, and stepping into the I am. What truly involves the I am, and how I speak on, we have no lower self and a higher self. It is the one self. When you really get into soulism and what the I am is, there is no higher self and lower self, and who you are now is in the middle somewhere, trying to balance these two things out. It's all part of the I am. It is the one self. The higher, what you call the higher self, and the lower self is all the one self, the I am that is now. Just like I was speaking on before, if you have a memory, if you can sit here and recall religious teachings that you had while you was in a religion, and I have my phone right beside my window, and it's a full moon tonight, it's windy outside, so that's why y'all might hear some shit in the background. So when you get into the I am, the shallow self, what you call your shallow self, and then you got a deep self. This is all part of the one self also. There is no separation between the two. There is no, this is the concept that people got to understand. You are vertical and horizontal, meaning vertical as in me connecting to moon, sun, stars, and infinite space, and horizontal as in me connected to land, air, water, and space, and all people. And that makes up your X factor. That's the cross that you have to carry. When it says, you got to carry your cross, that is the cross that you have to carry. This vertical, energetic, synchronicity, and your horizontal synchronicity with all life forms. And that's the balance that you have. That's the balance that the one I am, the one self, has to balance. Oh yeah, I forgot to let y'all know about my network. My internet been messing up. My social media been shot to hell for a minute now. So it says low network connection right now. So y'all my shit may blank out, but I'm gonna keep on talking. So if y'all start to lose me, I won't know that. Just catch it later on when y'all can. But so what I want to get into with this message to the black men in Atlantis is actually dealing with what our role is as black men on this plane, on this earth, and in this world, because the earth and the world are two separate things. So what are we supposed to be? What are we supposed to be qualifying ourselves for? What are we supposed to be qualified to do and trying to seek qualification for? And how do we validate ourselves, and what are we supposed to be validating? And the reason why I felt like I needed to talk about this is because I see so many posts and I see so many comments, and I talk to so many people, and I've actually talked, like when I've been on my hiatus from social media and don't be talking and going live, I actually be having a lot of conversations with people. It's people that know me from social media that actually call my phone or call me through Messenger, and we conversate for hours on different subjects, whatever's on their minds, or in their souls. So the common theme that I keep seeing, and what I see within the energy grid, is that the men is getting pieces of it, but it's like we all have a piece of it, but nobody is really connecting with each other. The brothers not. The sisters are really connecting with each other. They really have been networking. They really been showing some ascension. Yeah, I see connection freezing up. Yeah, that's because of my social media been messing up. Like I said, I posted earlier, like I've been trying to go live and do stuff. Every time I go live, something's going wrong. It's either some type of situation going on here in the home, or my phone is just crazy. Where I'm at, I'm located out in the boonies for real. So surrounded by trees. So I'll be having so if it goes out, I'm gonna keep on talking if y'all stick with it, or come back to it whenever y'all can. But so what I see is I see a lot of brothers, they getting the knowledge, they getting more knowledge and information, and then it's like we reach a certain point where we feel like, all right, yo, I'm getting this thing on my own, so I don't really need to connect. I don't really need to network and connect with other people, with other brothers. I got this shit myself. And that ain't how, and that's not really the concept. And yes, you are supposed to be within yourself, have your own concept of qualifications and validations for your own I am and who you are. That's part of being a sovereign soul. But it also comes a point in which, with your sovereign soulism and you knowing I am that I am and I am all, you being all also includes the reflections of yourself, because this deals with your experiential reality and your symbiosis into correspondences outside of the vessel that is I am, because your mind is not confined to your skull. Your brain is confined to your skull. Your mind is your orb, that is like an orb that's surrounding your vessel. And so when you understand that your mind, and when you go around other people, the fact that you perceive that other person is evidence that your mind has connected with that other person's mind. Even though that person's mind may not have connected with you, but the fact that you perceive other things in your experiential realities shows that yes, you are your I am, and you are yourself, and you do have your own masculinity that you have to stand in and protect and maintain and defend by all means necessary. And when it comes to the protection of your mind and your soul, you have to assert yourself, and you make sure that as a warrior that you do not need anybody else to know yourself and be yourself. But when you understand the experiential reality of this two-dimensional reality that we exist in, you should realize that you have a vertical reality that is your I am. That's your vessel connected to cosmic realities and dimensions and the time and this timelessness and infinite space and things of that nature. But you also but you're not just this vertical entity. You also have a horizontal reality. That horizontal reality includes reflections of who you are, the other people, the other. So, and what I see with a lot of brothers is that we on the vibe. We get to a point where we feel like so super like we about this life so much that we gotta prove it and not be dependent on other people and and shit like that. And it's not really like you dependent on other people. It has to be a conceptualization that this is a sovereign, this is another being, another soul, that is another I am, that is seeking to liberate itself from the same captivity that I am confined to, from the same paradigms that I am confined to, from the same titles and deeds that I have been subjected to in light codes that I have been captivated by. So part of your being sovereign, a sovereign soul, is also protecting the sovereignty of another sovereign soul. Asserting that, yes, for me to say, yes, my brothers, oh yeah, we black, that automatically puts you into a correspondence with this person, a synchronicity. This is your black card. So when part of being a sovereign or being I am is knowing that is an I am also. That is an I am also. Not only is that an I am, that is an I am that I am in agreement with. So, because you have the I am what you are, you have disagreeable aspects of yourself, and you have agreeable aspects of yourself. Most people try to say that their disagreeable aspects are their lower self, and that the aspects of their self that they agree with the most is their higher self. But in reality, like I said, that is your one I am. The true disagreeables and agreeables that really matter, and being a symbiotic creature, because that's what we are, symbiotic creatures. And symbiotic creature meaning that we are the one black mind that has amalgamated itself into the physical nature and the, how would I say this? We have not synthesized, because synthesized deals with some type of synthetic, Caucasoids have been synthesized. We are symbiotes. They are synthetics. Symbiote and a synthetic are separate. Something to be synthesized, meaning it's something that has been forced into being or forced into existence, but not necessarily by natural selection, or not necessarily it's not in the nature of that being to be synchronistic or reciprocating of development. As a symbiote, black people, melanated people being symbiotes, is saying that we have agreed, we have amalgamated into physicality, and that amalgamation is a reciprocal amalgamation. It is non-dualistic. Like our nature is not fighting with our spirit or fighting with our minds, or our minds are not at war with our brains and shit like that. Like most people in the society that we call Caucasoids, they have their minds are at war with their brains are at war with their bodies are at war with nature, and it's just, you know what I mean, it's duality. This is why I said that, yo, how can we say we, like a lot of people are posting, we go into the fifth dimension, we step into the sixth dimension and seventh dimensions and so on and so forth, when we still really are truly still trapped in a two-dimensional reality. And the reason why I say we are trapped in that two-dimensional reality, because of the concepts of duality. And those concepts of the concept of duality deals with everything has an opposite. Not everything has a reciprocal, but everything has an opposite. Opposite meaning opposition, adversary, an enemy, something that for this to exist, that which is against that has to exist. And this doesn't. And for God to exist, devil had to exist. For one to exist, two had to exist. And this is the dimension that we exist in. Where there's a yin, there must be a yang. That's two-dimensionalism. That's duality. When you step into oneness, you step outside of that whole conceptualization, because in the concept of is not to step into more dimensions and more dimensions and more dimensions and get into multiplying your dimensionalism. It's to get into, you actually should be trying to go back to zero nature. Go from this duality mindset back into the one mind and back into the nothingness. And then come out and be able to battle whatever realities you have to face within the darkness of that nothingness, and come back out of it still one divine being, one master of self, one impeccable holistic self that has experienced the totality of what it is to be one and none, to be many, to be in duality, in a state of duality, and still be able to duel back to the oneness. So we got to step out of that dualistic, and that, because that duality mindset is what's getting us to the point of saying, well, I'm not gonna be with them or for them and stuff like that. I don't need to be around other men because I'm an alpha male. Alpha maleism is dualistic mindset. It deals with adversary magic. That's what duality is, adversary magic. And you can study adversary magic, which deals with reverse of everything that seems to be morally or ethically or socially sound, and you just pretty much reverse all of that. That's where they get the black mass rituals and stuff like that. It's just the reverse of what they call mass, white mass, which is the popes. So when I want to get into dealing with the masculine energy, what needs to be addressed with the masculine energy is the qualification, what we were created for, what we're here for as masculine vessels. We are here solely to validate the divine feminine, because it is the divine feminine that we come from. So you must validate your mother. And through the process of validating your mother, or the divine feminine, not just your mother, but mother, sister, daughter, lover, spirit, soul, that feminine aspect, that from the to the cosmic feminine, to the celestial feminine, that manifested and allowed that portal to be open, her portals to be opened to spawn existence and creation itself. You have to validate that. All this education, the teaching, the spiritual paths that we walk on is a process of validation. And you are trying to validate something that you truly already know within. But you have to validate it until you have been qualified to impeccability, or totality, or you have been qualified to wholeness. How do you know when you have been qualified to wholeness? If all you have if all you rely upon is yourself, is your own perceptions, your own reality, your own I am. My own I am can say right now, I'm qualified and validated in every single thing that there is to be qualified and validated in. That doesn't mean that it's true. How can I know it's true unless there's a correspondence or some type of synchronicity or some type of reciprocal energy that can say that yes, you are one because I am two. And I know what one is. I was one before there was two. I was one before there was another one that could be one. I was what that one is seeking to be. How will you know this? Though yes, we are the question and the answer. She is the question and the answer. She is the quest that I am on, and she is the answer to my quest. The answer comes from the word ansar, which is an Arabic term. Ansar means helper. So the quest that you are on, the question that you have, you seek answers for. Answers are helpers to help you complete your quest. The quest of what? The only quest that we need, that we should be having on this plane, is a quest for freedom and the quest for sovereignty. And this is not to say that I'm trying to tell you who to be or what to do and I'm trying to define masculinity to you, but most masculinity, like I said, has been defined by hyperaggression, or alpha maleism, or emasculation, or has been defined by material objects that outside of the self that bring you happiness. This is how most masculinity has. This is how most measures of masculinity have been presented to us and have been cultivated inside of our minds and inside of our spirits, or with our spirits. So that being said, when I say what qualifications, we're supposed to seek qualification to be qualified by the divine feminine, a divine feminine that embodies the totality of what feminine energy is. This is why I had said in I believe it was my last live stream, that I will submit my free will to a sisterhood, but I would not submit my free will to a sister, and it will not be my sovereign soul that I am submitting. Because no one should seek your soul. No one should be seeking your prayers and for you to submit your soul to them and your mind to them. It should be my free will. Because where did you get your free will from? Whenever your mother allowed you to do. That was how you understood I have the freedom to do this. When you did something new that was new to your experience, you checked to see if it was okay with the philosophy of mother, or the philosophy of your parentage. But ultimately, with any type of guiding light or guiding system that you had to embody a feminine principle in order to guide you. I don't care if you was just raised by your father. Your father had to embody some type of feminine aspects of feminine qualities for you to feel like you was raised to be a good man or a good whatever that you feel that you are. And so when I speak to the brothers about us here in Atlantis, our mission here is not the same as those brothers there in Lemuria. And Lemuria meaning the Africans. They live in a different experiential reality. And their experiential reality as Lemurians, they are the scientists. that created the Caucasoids and allowed them to take over and stuff like that. And our life as Atlanteans was not about that. We have been invaded by Lemurians and Caucasoids. Their scientific experiments. They invaded heaven. Satan invaded heaven. This is the war. This is the Seraphic War. So what I'm talking about right now is that our war is not with the white man. Our war is with titles and deeds and redefining jurisdiction. That's what it's about. Jurisdiction and jurisprudence and titles and deeds. And by titles and deeds, I mean things as simple as because what has taken place since the ancient times is that we have lost. We pretty much went through a process where the crown that originally the black woman had and the throne that she sat on as the one who qualifies all masculine beings to say that, okay, you can rule here, you can rule in this dimension, you are a warrior here, you are an educator, you are this. Why do I say this? Because this is what I have named you to be. You have a name. This name is a title. What your mother named you was the title that she was given. That's why, even in the hospitals, it don't matter if your mother's a goddamn crackhead, prostitute, whatever. She is still allowed to name you, even before the state come and take you from her. They still allow her to name you, because by her naming you, this is giving you she's telling you this is your destiny. This is what how I want you to serve and validate. This is the path that you will take to and validate yourself, and eventually you will be qualified based on whether you was living up to the process of validating who I am naming you to be, who I am calling you on. Because when these beings that have whatever your name means, when you are called and you do not validate, and you are not valid in being holistic in totality of what I have called you, what I have named you to be and called you for, and what I will call you for, when the Great Mother Spirit calls all of us, if you are not standing on, living up according to that name that I have given you, you will not be qualified. Qualified for what? Qualified to enter the mothership, because the mothership is where foreverness is. That's where your this heaven is, and this would qualified to step into the Shambhala. The Shambhala is the another term for mothership, the black mothership. It's called a Shambhala. This is what the Christians and the people of the Bible call heaven, what the Muslims call Jannah, and it's pretty much saying that this is when you step into the forever place, the place where we have eternal life, and where we will exist in whatever dimension or whatever you believe happens after you go through this life form, wherever you would transition to continue your journey. That's a Shambhala that's being created. This is why people have to assert their realities on you. This is why part of enslavement in our captivity is the process of training you out to step away, cultivating us away from our concepts of life after death. Life meaning for our eternal self after we leave this death, because this death is a stasis. This is a light code. This is a time capsule. This is a coffin. This is a jed. This is the wisdom of. This is somebody's wise mind that we exist in. So what we need to be what we are seeking to be qualified for, has to come. That qualification has to come from the divine feminine. So you have to validate that, regardless of how you want to put it. You can say, well, I step into the get on you some nature boy shit, like I get the downloads directly to me, and I have gotten downloads directly from the mothership. I have been taken to the mothership. I have. I mean, and that can have, the masculine being can go through that, especially when you don't have a feminine energy around. You truly are a seeker and educating and induciating yourself. You can step in, you can be taken to that mothership. You can be given a mission, but ultimately, what happens from the astral realm is that you receive it from based on the light codes that you already possess, based on the information that you already embodied from your name, from the all the numbers that have been put on you as spells and curses. And it's our battle. And as if you look at all the ancient stories about men and the cultures that have been ruled by men and the things of that nature, and based on all the stories collectively put together, it's pretty much we took the crown. The black man took the crown from the black woman. Or let me reword that. I say the nine ether men took the crown from 10th ether women, which is 9 ether activated, next level. But I just simplify. 9 ether men took the crown from 9 ether women. 8 ether men came and took the crown from the 9 ether men. 7 ether men took the crown from the 8 ether men. 6 ether men took the crown from the 7th ether men. And now in the 6th ether man, the paradigm that we exist in now, our Shambhala is a dualistic Shambhala where there's a heaven and a hell. There's a place of condemnation and there's a place of glorification. Why it is us men that are being seen as the leaders and the teachers, and because we are in a state of war, and we are the warriors, and in a state, and this is what the black woman has always allowed us to be, the protectors and maintainers. So as warriors, and we are in a perpetual state of war, in this dualistic paradigm, it is the warriors that must take the lead. Not saying we got to lead women, we got to control women and all that type shit. But it is us that must lead in the battlefields, the war. What is the battlefield? The battlefield is the battlefield of the mind, the battlefield of the soul, the battlefield of spirits. It is us men that must be on the front lines of that. And therefore, there's a process that we got to go through with every etheric frequency. We got to do battle on every freak ether from the 6. There's a battle that we got to go through with the 6th ether. There's a battle that we got to go through with 7th ether. There's a battle we got to go through with 8th ether. There's a battle we got to go through even among 9 ether beings. Because there's a lot of 9 ether beings that are receptive and enjoy and embrace that and are happy with this 6 ether duality that we live in, this paradigm that we live in and exist in, this stasis that we are in currently, with all of the consequences and contradictions and everything that comes with it. They are content. So that's the process that we got to go through, and we got to validate the divine feminine among each ether from each dimension. That what that implies is, starting to rain outside. And what that implies is that we have to battle with Christianity. Not only do we have to find our masculinity, this is the process of Osiris finding his manhood, his masculinity, finding his penis, getting up out of the penile system. The penile system is the prison system, part of itself, the pre-sun system. But the penile system is not just the brick and mortar prisons that we know of. The penile system is the penis system, period. The secret occult brotherhood that maintains power from the alpha male concept all the way to hyper-aggressive masculinity concepts. The illuminated masculinity, the light code masculinity, the brotherhood that has permeated throughout all etheric beings. There's a brotherhood. All etheric beings battle with each other, yes. Like, you got the battle between the black man and the white man, the Hindu man and the Asian man, the Indian man, and all this type shit, and the white man, and yeah, we all battle with each other for patriarchal supremacy. But at the underlying root of all of these battles that we have among each other, there's a general consensus among all of us that men must rule and dominate women by whatever means. And under that script, there's a war that we have created. We are staging. That's why we always talking about battle this, war this. The end times, it's going to be a war. It's going to be this. We at war. We at war. We at war. It's a battle. It's a battle. We're not at. I mean, didn't we say, well, yeah, black woman, you know, you the spiritual warrior. You work that magic, and I mean, tap into that majestic powers that you have within your I am. But then we say it's not a war of flesh and blood, but principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. So now we have taken the battlefield and saying that the battlefield is in the darkness, and even though the women rule the darkness, but because the battle is there and there's a war there, we must also go there. So she must allow. So black woman, or any etheric woman, all etheric women, because the white woman was the ones that sold us on the housewife whole thing, domestication of the woman thing. Domestication of the female. You know, the Arab women, when a white man took the crown from when the sixth ether, let me say this, when the sixth ether man took the crown from the seventh ether man, his white woman also, while he had the crown for masculinity, from masculinity, that crown included was the feminine crown, which was also that included his woman had the crown also. So now, whereas the black man, when the black woman had the crown, and the black man was the archetype for masculinity, while she was the archetype for femininity. When the six ether beings took the crown, he became the archetype for masculinity. She became his woman became the archetype for femininity. And he had already went to war. He had went to war with study the story of Rama. I told you all about that. How the ram became part of the zodiac, and the constellation came from the story of Rama, which is an Indian, black Indian, who found out. Well, I told y'all the story in one of my live streams before, but he pretty much was like, yo, he went to the wilderness and got knowledge from the blind man, and like it's all types of symbolisms in there with that shit. The blind man that was fucking with the white witch and all this type of shit, and motherfucker, he came and they told him about prophecies and that were hidden, and sent him back out there, and he went to war with the women and took over the whole culture over there in India and all that type shit. That's Rama. And that also comes in the Bible when we're Adam and Eve. Adam was the homebody, and Eve was the one that was going out in the garden and exploring the world and all that type shit. And then she met the wise man, the Nachash, which is the wise man, or who's called the serpent in the Bible. And then, you know what I mean, when the God found out, which deals with the political structure, the government of the white man type shit, there was a role reversal. The part of Eve, the curses of Adam and Eve in the Bible was a role reversal, where now the woman was only not even subjected to the house and confined to the house. It was the man that was the one that was to go out in the world and explore and till the ground and all that type shit. While all she was supposed to be doing was serving her man, because Adam had committed to serving God, and so she must serve Adam the same way that Adam serves God. And God was the ancient brotherhood, the brotherhood of the dragon, or the brotherhood of the snake. That's what they call the oldest secret society in the world. Is the brotherhood of the dragon, or the brotherhood of the snake. All that deals with is the brotherhood of the penis, which every pennant, every obelisk, everything that's shaped like a penis is being destroyed right now in the world by nature, or by accident, or by ritual occult shit. Just like back in the day, just like the Notre Dame shit that's going on right now with the burning of the sacrificing of the Notre Dame temples, which they try to burn up the gargoyles at the same time. It's the same thing that took place back with the Mayans and the Incans and the Aztecs when they used to sacrifice their strongest warriors, Who was they sacrificing their strongest warriors to? They said the ancient gods, and who was the god that they were sacrificing to? Was Meshi. This was originally all Mexica, just like over there was Tiamat, and where the Lemurians and shit was. The Sumerian scripts called it Tiamat. Well, it's the synchronicity over here in Atlantis with the Tiamat over there in Lemuria was Meshi. Because Maat was over there, Meshi was over here. Meshi is the ancient divine feminine here in Atlantis, which we now call Americas, but it's really all Mexica. All as an AU, because all is the first family name. All. That's why you have all Set and all Sar, which really was all Set and all Set, because Set had his name taken from him, had his first family name taken from him, and was given to Sar. So Sar took on the crown that Set originally had. Who they say in pre-dynastic times, they worship Sut or Sut. That was Set. So even in Kemetic teachings, they altered the teachings. The patriarchal supremacists altered the teachings. Whereas it was all Set and all Set. They were one. Divine feminine, divine masculine was all Set and all Set. But when patriarchal supremacists came and took over, I'm talking about pre-dynastic patriarchal supremacists, which led up to even having the ability to build a dynasty. There was already, the patriarchs had already took over. The brotherhood had already secretly and covertly took over in Lemuria. Those scientists over there. That was, and they put in Sar. Sar eventually became All-Sar. So now you hear about all Set and all Sar instead of all Set and all Set. Instead of I am that I am. You hear about all Set and all Sar. Same thing happened over here. That's why all of their peace, Deidre Russell, I see you. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the qualification and validation process that we got to go through. All Set and all Set. Not super late. It's cool. My reception been breaking up now, and I got my phone by the window getting wet and everything. But I'm getting a better signal now than I was before it started raining. So I'm with the shits. You know, full moon out tonight, raining, windy, everything. Oh yeah, I want to let y'all know this too. I'm gonna finish what I'm talking about, but I want to let y'all know about this full moon for April. The names for it is the hair moon, the seed moon, the flower moon, the planter's moon, the meadow moon, and the wind moon. The colors is brown and light green. Gemstones and minerals: beryl, diamond, malachite, sapphire, and zircon. Issues, intentions, and powers: beginnings, fertility, growth, and spirituality. That's dealing with the April full moon. And the reason why I brought that up is because, this is my book, little correspondence book. It's a Wiccan correspondence book, though. So it's not the best book for understanding correspondence. Ultimately, you trust your intuition for correspondences with whatever works for you. That's what you base your concepts of what corresponds and synchronizes with what, and what's a reciprocal of what energy. And that's what you work your magic off of, and when you deal with your own majestic powers. So, but as far as this whole concept of us Atlantean beings, and I say it like I said, I say Atlanteans with an intention, because it's how you understand your world reality and how we being ruled, and I get into sovereignty and freedom. So I told you that the masculine energy is how you accomplish. Men can accomplish freedom. Women are to accomplish sovereignty. So man, how do we accomplish freedom? Masculine energy, black men of Atlantis. How can we accomplish freedom so that we can set the stage for the divine women, for the divine feminine, to qualify us for sovereignty? The way that we accomplish freedom is we gotta reset. change up the titles and deeds, forget civilization, forget legalism, forget, we have to lose our minds as we know it, which is with the light code construct that we have been given and fed and repetitively programmed with. We have to forget all of it. The religions, we have to forget religion. When I say forget, I mean forget to the point where we can't even teach anybody about it, because it's no longer the concept that coding is no longer inside of us. We no longer embody it, the informational codings within our biochemistry. To even be able to draw it up out of our records, it no longer exists in our records of I am. This is no longer in our spiritual complex, civilization, religions, legalisms, dualities, these universal laws and things of that nature. We have to be transcendental. There, my man, speaking on this. Thank you, brother. Much love. It's a few that's coming out now. I'm starting to see, but I still see where they. I mean, they don't say some of the things that I say, but it is a few. Like I seen the brother Oni something. I just shared this video where he was talking about. He was talking about a lot of different things, but I forgot what this main point of his video was. And I think it's his brother Byron Jackson, I believe. He talked about it, and as far as like people that on social media, and yeah, you are right. It ain't many. It's a couple others, but it's very rare and few. But this is pretty much what it boils down to, though. We really have to really lose our minds just to reset our minds. We have to the point where, like, I realized myself. I was like, yo, I sit up for months and weeks, especially when I was locked up, but and just deprogram myself, like. And I really try to sit a few days ago and try to think about like how to break down Christian, because I used to be the type of Christian that could tell you any Bible verse. I could recall it out of head. When I was Muslim, I could tell you what Quran was like. I used to be the type of Muslim that could, if we start talking about something, I could just flip through the page. Like I knew what I was looking for. I knew about where in the book it was, what surah it was in, what ayat it was, all that type of stuff. And I could just flip to the page and I'll find it. I mean, it might take me like 10 minutes at the most, but I'll eventually find exactly what I'll be looking for, no matter what book I was in. Even when I started to get the Hindu scriptures and I was studying the Hindu teachings real heavy, and Scientology and all that type shit. Like, I was able to just go, and because I embodied it so much, and I was able to recall information that I read and studied and actually give my own synopsis of it, and still be able to go back and find the page that I was looking for, even in the King James Bible. You know what I mean? I'll be able to find exactly what I had a World Collegiate Dictionary that I used to study out of. And then what I started to realize that by me studying these things in order to become more conscious of these things and be able to speak on these things thoroughly, and even though I was debating these, because I started off studying Islam because I was debating Muslims as a Christian, and got back into my whole Hebrew Israelite vibe. So what I realized was that as I studied these things, I was actually programming these things into me. I was acculturating myself with this information. And pretty much to be an empath, you have to empath has to experience that reality in order to be empathetic. So that means you have to embody what someone else is going through. Even if you've never been through that before, you have to allow yourself to feel and think from that person's perspective as much as possible until it becomes almost down there like you experienced it yourself, to the point where you'll have dreams about it part itself. And what I realized, it says low network connection. Let me move my phone over a little bit. Is it wet here? It sure is. So, let me see here. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Try to set this up so I can still continue to do my thing on here. I think I just blocked my sound quality. But let me see if I can do it like this. All right, it says it's still recording. I'm not sure if it is or not, but I'm gonna keep it moving though. But what happened is through me trying to study these things so I could debate other people about these things, and as I began to research these things, the more I began to research these things and study these things so I could debate other people about these things, I started to program myself with these things. So I've been talking, like I've done counseled people on Frank Burrow. I heard that name before. I'm not sure who that is, but I have heard that name. That name was brought up to me before. But you had to tell me something about him so I could tell you about him, whether I actually seen something from him or not. Like Brother Panic, I was hearing about Panic for like 5 years before I actually even seen one video. And most people I just keep hearing about him, and I just keep hearing about him for years, and then eventually I just go ahead and say, all right, I've heard about him so much now, let me check him out. But I really don't really like to look into other people's shit, new people's shit, unless it's something that catches my attention immediately. And most people don't catch my attention immediately. You know, like I had turned Panic off tonight. I was watching a recent Panic lecture, and I had to turn that shit off because he just kept joking and playing and talking about nigga shit so much, and and I'm like, damn, you holding a live lecture with however many people was there, but you know, much respect to Panic because he on his shit. You know what I mean? He one of Bobby Hemmitt's disciples, and Bobby Hemmett know his shit. But what I was learning about, pretty much what I was learning, but from me studying everything and being able to quote everything, and the more that you're able to quote different things, you continue to program yourself into these things. Mental magic, using I. He says I. Yeah, I never heard of Frank Burrow. I've seen a lot of people saying that I and I thing, but I've never. That's like the Rastafarians. Anytime they say any type of a noun or a pronoun, Rastafarians, they say I at the end of it because they ultimately, when they speak, no matter who they speaking about or who they speaking to, or they always say they teach that he's trying a lot to make a better language. Yeah, I've already made a better language, but every time I start working on it, it messes up. But or I lose it, or somebody takes it, or my shit gets destroyed. I mean, baby mama drama, whatever, and shit like that. So yeah, it's not hard to make a new language though. That's probably one of the, but you can't make a new language based on the rules that you were taught in language arts, because that's how I started off trying to create my own language. And like I was doing certain things, and pretty much, and the brother, I was talking to these, you know what I mean, these fucking Masonic niggas, and more science niggas and shit like that. They kept saying, well, brother, you got to go by the constructs, you got to follow the law and the letters and the of language and language arts, and you got certain rules of language that you got to follow and abide by in order so that when you complete the language, there's a science that the language can be figured out by. And I'm like, what I was hearing about that was that if somebody comes across your language and cannot like how you play Sudoku or whatever that game is, or like if you can't find out, if a person can't decipher your language mathematically without ever knowing your language, then it's not considered a valid language. It's like, I mean, even in the English language, they say the same thing. Like eventually, there has to be some type of etymon. That's what they call that the etymon. I don't call that the etymon or etymology. It's linguistics. Yeah, they say you got to follow the rules of linguistics. And what happens if you follow what actually is the rules of linguistics or lingua franca or etymology, it's actually your language has to be able to be deciphered by the CIA. You know what I mean? Puzzle masters. If the puzzle masters can't figure out your language, it's not a real language, or it's not a complete language, or you have a chaotic language, or your language is an imbalance. This is what I was being told when I was creating my language, which I'm still going to create it, but I just put all that stuff on pause. Yeah, Sudoku. and pretty much how you can figure out Sudoku by playing with the numbers and keep messing up, and then you figure it out eventually just based off of patterns. If you can't, if they can't, they have to. When I was trying to write my own language, I was consulting other people who I consider to be like language type of people. They're like, yo, you got to have a certain pattern to your language. If you don't have that pattern to your language, some people can't figure your language out or speak it. Like it's just like I forgot the exact words they use. I knew about it when I was into that type of shit. I'm not really into that shit no more. I don't follow rules at all unless they serve me and if the, you know what I mean. So, but this is the same thing with everything, with spirituality, with religion, with chaos, with structure, with discipline, with uh, uh, um, teaching, with education, with knowledge of self. If they with light workers, they say if you can't follow that, if you can't, pretty much what happens is that you don't. What you got to to part of the deprogramming of your mind from captivity is you have to get yourself out of the concept of needing to be corralled. You have to break away from the necessity to develop a pattern that's not only just a pattern, but a pattern that can be deciphered by someone who has not been taught what the pattern is. And this is and not only and that and reflecting back onto what I was really talking about. You got to with deprogramming yourself. You got like they say, you can't change get out of Christianity and then start chasing a black Jesus. It would be great if we could engage the soul speak. Yeah, that would be perfect. But that's just not the reality that we live in because we got a mouth, tongue, and a vocal cords. So that's not. The soul speak. Yeah, you can speak souls to somebody that really for real. You want to really get technical. When you have sex, that's soul speaking. That's body language. That's speaking from the soul. Yeah. When you understand the energies that's going on and what's in the atmosphere and things like that without knowing specifically current events, that's you're understanding the etheric language, the language of the ethers. The Akashic records. You're touching into the Akashic record, what they call the Akashic records. And the most powerful language, the most powerful soul speaking is sex. Sex is the most powerful language that's without words. That you can speak without words or making any type of sounds. It's just pure feelings. And not only is it just pure feelings, it's feelings from your physicality all the way to your soul. You can feel, you can stimulate in your spirits. It encompasses every type of language that you can speak can be experienced through sexual intercourse. And it's the only language that you can speak where you yourself can be interchangeably with someone, altering your masculine and feminine energy, trading your masculine and feminine perspectives and paradigms and roles and experiential realities is through sex. And I plan on doing a video about the dark side of sexuality also. So eventually I'm going to do that whenever I feel like. But every time I say I'm going to do something, I end up seeing somebody else kind of touching on it, and they touch on it so thoroughly. I just share their shit and let y'all see. Hear it from them. But if I feel like nobody really catch it like that, the ether is probably what they're referring to as dark matter. Yeah, the ether is always the dark matter is darkness or the darkness. Ether is the darkness of that dark matter is. It's the different frequencies of darkness. You said that we're aware of at our level of awakening. Yeah, most people get into tantra. Most people get into tantra, or they get into like Kama Sutra type shit. That's all Hindu frequencies. That's why I was saying, with us brothers, with us masculine beings, we have to step into the titles and deeds ourselves. We have to redefine these things. Yeah, we have to read. Like, we can't just say, all right, we learned tantra, we've learned Kama Sutra, and now we have stepped into the level of a priestly, the sex magic. You know what I mean? Professional. You know what I mean? Or we have mastered sexual energies because we know Kama Sutra and we know Tantra. You know, it's something that's a seven/8 ether frequency sexual mastery. There's a 9 etheric frequency sexual mastery that only black, this the darkest of melanation, or the dark paradigm of melanin, can tap in, tune into, and we are the only ones who can explain it and describe it, and we are the only ones who can add on and multiply to the experiential reality of it. And this is why you got people that seek sex with different cultural beings, different people from different cultures and shit like that. You know, because they trying to experience what it is that they're being drawn to. Is their darkness being drawn to another frequency of darkness? Their ether, the 9 ether, is hungers for the 6th ether, and the hungers to master that 6th ether. This is why you see so many black men that fuck with white women, because there's something about our darkness that always hungers for the darkness of others, and we'll have an appetite for it until we master it. Until we master the 6th etheric frequency of, in totality and holistically, we'll seek it, we'll desire it, we'll still seek to amalgamate and to integrate and all that type of shit until we master it impeccably. And then once we master that, there's gonna be 7th ether that we gotta go. Like, us as masculine beings, this is our battlefield. The battlefield includes every paradigm that Dr. Francis Cresswell Wilson has said that they have went to war against us with and in, are the paradigms that we also have to master. We had to master all the way dealing with that, the sexuality, dealing with the education, dealing with the vitality and shit, and dealing with explaining ourselves. Like, prime example, this is something I was meditating on right before I came on the live stream. Dealing with land, air, water, and space. We have to redefine what land, air, water, and space is to a 9 etheric being, because we know what land, air, water, and space is to 6 ether beings. They got to kill things in order to understand it and comprehend it, but they're trying to think like a 7th etheric being. So that now they don't really kill things. So they got to pollute things to comprehend the science of it, to understand the science. They say, oh, it's okay to dump this shit in there. Oh, this is happening since we dumped that in there. Oops, we fucked up. But now we understand this better. So now let's try to do something else. And they gotta fuck shit up in order to understand it and comprehend it. They gotta kill animals, to dissect them and shit in order to scientifically be able to analyze and comprehend it. They gotta pull the plants up out of the ground and cut them open and dissect them and put them under a microscope in order to really comprehend what the properties of that plant is. That's not in our nature. Finances is some 6 ether shit. What do you need? You don't need finances in a free world. Like, I got snot in my goddamn nose. We don't need finances. Finances is an illusion. You talking about economics. Economics is based off of ecology. Ecology deals with your environmental ebbs and flows. Or they say what they call that shit. Yeah, but finances is mundane. It's frivolous. It's an illusion, trickery of light. Juno Moneta is the goddess of money. Why is there a goddess of money that even in the Six Ether culture, Roman culture, Juno Moneta, which is also who is she? I forgot who she represents. Hera, I believe in Rome. Juno Moneta in Greece. Lakshmi in Hindu. Um, who is, I forgot what it is, but pretty much it all deals it. Yeah, and that's not, yeah, break things apart to see them, but that's not our nature. But economy comes from ecology. Ecology deals with nature, the science of nature. The reason why it's called economics because it deals with numeric, numericizing nature, putting numerical value on natural things that are infinite and eternal and immortal and things like that. Is saying that we're going to put a code on it. We're going to codify this, put a code on it. That code is called economics. It's the scope, the grand scope of it. The umbrella term is economics, but finances and stocks and trade. I mean, all this other fucking terms that they got for this shit. It all deals with motherfucking trying to put light codes on the darkness that is nature, on the infinite, immortal darkness of nature. They're trying to codify it into light codes, which is numericize it, and then by them putting it into giving it a numerical value or numbering it, then they can say, well, because it can be numbered, it is not infinite. Because we can count it, we have a methodology and a science that we can count it and calculate it by. It is not infinite or immortal. It is not forever. It is temporal, and all things that are temporal are under the six ether scope of energy frequencies. So they're able to dissect. So because of that, they can say now we can rule over this, and we have mastered this. But we know that they haven't mastered nature. That's why, because they're still coming out with shit to try to master nature. So therefore, economics is false. It's temporal. It's an illusion. But they perpetuate it because they're in a race. That's why we call them racist, and they originated racism because they are in a race against nature to try because nature is constantly seeking to destroy the illusions that is in it and of it, because these illusions, these falsehoods are viruses and diseases to nature. Economics is a disease against nature. It is a virus against nature. Finances, economics, money, because it takes away from nature and gives it where you got cotton and trees and stuff that the money is made out of, and the metals that the money is made out of. And now there's somebody saying that I am the medium between you and this natural resource, between your nature and the nature that is out there, outside of your I am, and your horizontal I am. Yeah, you got your vertical I am, but we even got legalisms and shit like that to rule over your vertical I am, which is your connection with land, air, water, and space, sun, moon, stars, infinite space. So, but not only that, we locking down your horizontal I am also, and that's how, and the way that they do that is through economics. Yeah. There's some out there in my cousin's car. But yeah. So what we have to do as masculine beings, we had to step into this whole scope of things where we got to be like, yo, this is what I was telling you about, what I was meditating on before I came on this live stream. Like, what I mean by titles and deeds. because this is what you get in, especially when you start talking to Moors and sovereign citizens and shit like that. They get real heavy into titles and deeds and constitutions and shit like that. What constitutes land, air, water, and space? This is your this will be the constitution that you should be abiding by. This is the constitution that we should be asserting. So what constitutes land, air, water, and space? Well, scientifically they call the waters ocean. That's by science. Legally they call it a sea because it deals with the ocean that you can see, what can be perceived. So legally, hold on. It's called a sea. Scientifically, it's called an ocean. I think spiritually, it was called what? I forgot which one, Newt or Gab, I believe. But what do we call it? The Indians have the 6 ether beings have their terms for it, which they call it different things based on what platform they're speaking on, or what paradigm what jurisdiction they're speaking in. Whether it's the jurisdiction of science or the jurisdiction of legalism or the jurisdiction of finances. But we have to retitle. What titles do we give lands and different textures and colors and different realities of lands, different forms of air? Would we even call it air? Or the waters? Would we call it waters? Would we call it oceans? Do we call it seas? Why would we call it these things? This is what I was just meditating on. And in legalism, they call it seas. Science, they call it oceans. Spiritually, we don't even know what this much about the English language, so we just call it whatever appeals to us at the time. But all of this matters because it deals with just how have you programmed your mind to conceptualize your experiential reality. And you can't, and this is the concept that I get into when I speak about freedom and sovereignty, because hold on, my fucking connection is bad. I don't know if y'all can still hear me, but it's showing up as fucked up on my end. But based on how you titled the deeds of nature will determine how your biochemical nature responds to the nature, your horizontal nature, how your vertical nature and what your vertical nature and your horizontal nature reciprocate, and how you correspond, how deeply you correspond with it. It's still showing my network is fucked up. I don't know if I should continue or just wait and do a part 2. Because my screen is getting grainy and everything. But I'm gonna finish saying this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and check it out. I'm gonna just go ahead and cut this off and just do a part two whenever I can get a better service. But all this matters because when you step into freedom and sovereignty, as you are forgetting the program, you have to explain, or you have to replace that programming with something that is more synchronistic to your nature. Y'all gotta let me know if you just was able to continue to see me the whole time I was eating my M&Ms or not, because it showed up a bad connection on my jaw. But as you begin to forget as you begin to forget the programming and get the programming out of your I am that you have been programmed with through the repetition of society and social engineering, and especially once this 5G shit start to roll over and roll in, as you begin to deprogram yourself from all this shit and it's reality, and with the 5G shit, it's gonna straight up have to be like this social media shit is gonna be done for anybody that takes their self serious. You're gonna have to be like, I'm only dealing with people, and the only people I'm gonna really deal with is if I can touch them motherfuckers and feel that they are organic material, and they gotta be speaking a certain kind of way and thinking a certain kind of way for me to really interact and engage with them. So this storm keep fucking up, but I don't think y'all can see me because nobody let me know they can see me. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and end this live stream. I'm gonna do a part two to this, completing this. I'm gonna wait till it shows that I'm connected again one more time, and then I'm gonna go ahead and close it. Just let everybody know that I'm gonna be doing a part two. Cause I don't know if anybody can see me right now. It's just showing a low network connection. It says it's recording, but it's fucked up. But I'm telling y'all, this is the type of shit I've been going through for the past week and a half when I've been trying to go live and shit. It's either some issue or some phone shit, social media fucking up. But I got y'all. And so I'm great. Yeah, here we go. I'm great. End this. Y'all let me know if y'all want me to speak on anything. I will be doing a part two because I'm not with this shit keep fucking up, and I feel like it's cutting me off. And I want to engage with y'all and really talk and communicate and drop this shit the way I want to. But because it keeps fucking up, the stream keeps getting interrupted. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off then do a part two. Yeah. Because I'm not feeling this shit. Last time, one time for the one time. And my bad y'all for it fucking up. But that's cool. It's about my bedtime anyway. I wonder if it's gonna be fucked up throughout this whole fucking recording. I gotta go back and watch it. Yeah, so that's all. Just be looking for a part two, and any questions or comments, make sure y'all leave it in the comment section. Any questions y'all have, anything y'all want me to go in live on, do it. Let me know. Part two coming up before it cuts off again. I'm gonna be doing a part two. Leave any questions or comments in the comment section. I will respond to all questions, all comments, or do a live stream on it. And I'll pick up where I left off at on part two, probably tomorrow. That way I can get clear reception. And just let me know anything y'all want me, whatever. Y'all got questions, just go ahead and drop that shit.